So in this video, we're going to take a look at Behance. I mentioned this platform earlier. I think it's a great place for you to go and find, inspiration, get ideas for your brand. It's also a good place to kind of, find inspiration and to create mood boards, which you can use when you brief your agency or brief your freelancer. Because sometimes it's helpful when trying to explain what it is that you want to achieve to actually include some visual material. And you can find a lot of good stuff on Behance to use for mood boards, and I'll show you how to create mood boards as well, which you can use part of the briefing process. And there's a lot of different things you can find on here. You can find everything from logo type designs to visual identity, like the complete visual identity for brands. You can find interior design ideas. You can find photography. Really all the type of creative work that you will need when you create your brand, you will find on here, right? So I'm going to lead you through, how you can use the tool in an effective way to kind of get and find work, and also find freelancers and find talent, and how you can reach out to them if you like what they do and you want them to create something similar for you. Below this video, I'm leaving a link also to Behance, and when you get on the page, you can actually already immediately start browsing different types of work on here. But what I would recommend you actually do is that you sign up and you create an account. It doesn't cost anything. So it's free. The benefit of doing that is that you will be able to save things and store things in your profiles, create mood boards and so on that you can come back to later, which I think is very helpful. So I would recommend that you do create an account. Obviously, I already have an account, so I'm just going to log in real quick to my account. Okay, so when you're in here, what you'll see is just a lot of different work, and I'll show you kind of how you search for things in here. It's really straightforward, actually. You have a search bar, right, which you can go to, and you can search for things like, let's say we want to find like a branding identity for a barbershop. Let's take that as an example. Typically, what I would do is I would just search for barbershop. And then you have creative fields on here, and here you can select, what type of work are you looking for, so in our case, we would be looking for branding. So you select that, and now you'll see a lot of different projects, branding projects done specifically for barbershops. So this is a great way to find like very specific projects that is related to the type of business you run. You don't need to be as specific as kind of like barbershop. You could just look for, other similar categories. And if it's, not a barbershop, but maybe there's a beard oil brand, or, you can look for other things to kind of get inspiration. But let's take this now. So we did a search for barbershop. I'm just going to go to the first here, which is a visual identity project. So when you go into those, typically what you will find is also part of, the brief that was provided. So, you'll have a bit of information that kind of shows, what this barbershop in this case is about, and, what the task they were given were. So you'll find, mood, vibe from vintage, and, you'll see kind of like the background to this. And what you will see in that brief is typically, whoever did the brief to the designer, it's their brand strategy, right? Or at least part of the brand strategy you can find when you go into those projects, and that can also give you some inspiration for your brand strategy as well if you get stuck on ideas. So let's just scroll through a little bit. So for a brand identity project, so here's a mood board. So that could be something that the agency or freelancer, in this case, I think it's a freelancer. Yes, it's Hidayet in this case. So either he created this mood board, or maybe the person who briefed him provided this mood board in terms of the look and feel that they want to create for their barbershop. You'll find things like the logo concept, how they got to the logo, what that looks like, how the logo can be executed in different ways. Because, as we learned when we looked at, what makes a good Salon logo, right, is the fact that you can actually use it in a lot of different places. So here they're kind of showing how can that logo actually be used, on small touch point on big platforms. you will find, you know, like graphics and brand assets like this pattern that he created here. Typography, so here's a recommendation then on like the typography that should be used, coming from the designer, the color palette to use. So, you know, all the stuff that we went through, really, you see how that is kind of coming to life, and how this freelancer in this case have created this for the client. Here you find some stationary ideas, just showing kind of how the brand could come to life on different material, you know, what a menu could look like, how other accessories in the salon could look like, you know, following this brand visual identity. You know, here's some aprons using that graphic pattern. So you can kind of see in this case how I think it's beautifully done, how they kind of took that brand strategy, you know, using that mood board from start, creating those visual assets, and then kind of how that is really, you know, bringing the brand to life on a lot of different touch points. Everything from retail bags to also products, right? And all this kind of stuff. So this was quite a rich visual identity or brand identity project, I would say. Kind of social media, image language, what could your feed look like? You know, this is quite a detailed one. And you can just imagine, you know, if you have a professional like, so I'm going to repeat his name, Hidajet in this case, from Kosovo, you know, creating something like this for you, so that you have that, how much easier that will be, you know, in the future when you're going to post on Instagram or when you're going to do things on your brand, that you have something like this to follow. Even like for your website, you already have you know, a presentation of how that is recommended to look to fit with your brand, and all that. So really, I think this was quite a rich project with a lot of different things in here. But that is kind of what you could expect when you brief a visual identity, you know, what you could get back. So I think that was a great example. We could try to see if we find something else. Let's look at a different category, so maybe a beauty salon. So now you'll find a lot of different like beauty salon executions, right? So, you know, I'm just going to go into one because here's a brand identity one. For the Resiana beauty salon. You can see that this was actually created by multiple designers. You can see that there's a few different images who has worked on the project. So here you also see kind of the concept. What was the challenge that they were asked to do? They wanted to create a logo and so on. A little bit on the story where the name comes from. So you get a little bit of background on what actually was in the brief. This was quite a short one, but that can still be helpful. You'll see also here, like here's the color palette that was recommended, the fonts to be used on the brand. You can see the execution of the logo, how it can be done in different ways. So this is more logo information. Some recommended material, like what invoices could look like when following this brand identity. You know, your sign, your bags, you know, showing a bit of the execution of using this visual identity in different ways. Also website, you know, Instagram. So that was just another case showing you kind of what a brand identity would look like, bringing that to life. Obviously, we could go on forever here, right? Could look for spa, we could look for hair salon. You might be able to find, you know, if you're into a specific, you know, niche, you could, or let's say you wanted to, here's an identity for a wellness center. So let's look at that. This was created by Tanya. Here's a bit of description, you know, probably, you know, who is the target audience, you know, all this stuff you have already created, right, in your brand strategy, but you can really see how these designers are really like taking that information, taking your brand strategy and bringing that to reality and creating logo, creating visual assets, you know, recommendations on business cards and material, and you know what all that could look like. I mean, I could go on forever here looking at different brand identities. I enjoy this. It's quite addictive, you might find when you start looking. But I just wanted to kind of show you, you know, how you can look for branding. And let's say we wanted to go for something else. Maybe we wanted to look at interior design. So what I would do then is go to the architecture category. So here you can get like a spa architecture. We were just looking at, so ideas on interior design. We could look at a hair salon maybe. So here you'll find, a lot of interior design ideas for a hair salon. We could just go into one. I'll just pick that one for some reason. So you can get ideas. I think this was a computerized mock-up that we're looking at now. But that's also because obviously your interior design is a big part of your brand as well. So you can find, interior design architects on here. Let's look at another one, which maybe is a... You see, these computerized mockups are so good, so it's sometimes difficult to even see if it's real or not. But yeah, there's loads of those on here. Here you can get, a lot of ideas for your interior design and, try to pair that up with your branding and so on. So there's loads of inspiration like this from, really talented people. And yeah, let's maybe go for or maybe we can look at a nail salon architecture. Okay, I'm not gonna take too much time on this. You get the point in terms of how you can look for interior design projects, but I think it's really fun. So that's a great source also for that type of work. What you might want to use it for as well is photography. So let's say for I'm using a hair salon example, and then you would go to custom field or creative field and choose, there should be photography, so you could find let's go to this one. So you can find some work done for a hair salon. I would expect I didn't actually read the title now. On photography work. We could do something like beauty. You'll find some great photography work as well. Just gonna go quickly. So that could be also inspiration if that's something that you want to create. And if you find something that is good, many times these projects that are on here were created for a client, and you're not, allowed to use the images that you find on here naturally because they would be copyright protected. But in some cases they were just, done by the photographer for their portfolio work. So it could be an idea as well if you find an image, for example, that you really like, that you would like to use in your business, to also reach out to the agency or to the designer in this case. So this would be from Studio, I'm not gonna even try to pronounce that, but what you would do is just go to this profile, and typically on here you'll find the URL to their website. You can browse other work that they are doing or other photography work that they've done. So here you can also just message them directly via the platform and reach out to, maybe if you find an image that you really want to use, you can reach out and to see what it would cost to buy the usage rights for it, or if there's a collection of images and so on that you want to use, you can reach out to them and ask what would that cost, for example. So that's also a way that you can actually find ready-made things and purchase and get license for to use in your business as well. The one thing I didn't show you that I think is important for you is also how to create mood boards. So let's go back to kind of branding. Let's do just nail salon this time, just to show some different things. Let's say we really liked this logo that was created here for the Balmy nail salon. What you can do is just like hover this one. If you want to create kind of a mood board for logos, because you're going to brief a logo, or for your brand identity, you find things that you really like, you just go to the image that you like, you do add to mood board. As you can see, I already have some categories, but you would probably create a new mood board, calling it like my salon logo. Yeah, and then you just do save. Okay, and then you can kind of like continue to go through work that you like, and as you go, you just add these the things that you like into your mood board. So maybe you like the Frenchies logo here as well. I mean, here you can also see how they kind of bring into life, their, who we are and their messaging and so on. So there's a lot of, again, great stuff you can find in here on, I'm just looking at the brief. You can find a lot of inspiration here also for your brand strategy, because you find that, typically part of the work as well, explaining kind of the story behind the salon or the story behind the spa, or who we are and all these things. So let's say you really like this asset, you can also do add to mood board, and you continue to build up your mood board. So when you're gonna move ahead and brief in your work, you have a mood board, and you can provide that as part of the brief to the agency, or you can again reach out directly to the designer on the platform if you find the work good and that it's something, and you would like to create something similar. Of course, if you're using kind of existing material on here for your brief, you shouldn't copy, and have another, more affordable designer copy the work for you, because in the end this is copyright protected work, and this is talents and creatives who are putting their heart into creating all this stuff. So I think it's important to have a lot of respect for that, and make sure that, people are paid for their work that they're doing. So either hiring directly from them, or more using it as kind of inspiration, of course, when you create something completely new with a different agency. But I'm sure you will agree with that, because I know most likely you're a creative yourself. So, that's an important part as well. But you see, I mean, it's a powerful platform. It can do so much more, I would say, than Pinterest, that a lot of us use for inspiration. I think this is much richer, and you can find great material here to inspire you as you go and create your brand identity. So that's what I wanted to share about Behance. I'll see you in an upcoming video.